Hey everyone, this is Travis Love. Today I'm coming at you with a pretty interesting tag. I first saw this from the lovely people at Bookaxe. It is called the Genre Buster tag. It's a set of fairly interesting questions that kind of give away what types of books that I like to read in regards to the genres. If that sounds interesting to you, here we go. Question number 1 is, do you prefer books that develop characters in depth, or do you prefer books that are more fast-paced? I would have to say that's a very tough question. I definitely do not like books that take forever to get started, but I sure don't like books that fly through the content fairly quickly without explaining the type of character or characters that we're going to be seeing throughout the book. I do like books that slowly reveal the characters throughout the entirety of the book so that they kind of show the reasons why the character is making the certain decisions that they are. I find that to be pretty exciting and keeps the flow of the book from becoming really stagnant and dry. So I would have to say I'm going to go with both. Question number 2 is, do you prefer more optimistic and lighthearted books, or books that explore the darker side of life? And I would have to say wholeheartedly, I would say I prefer more lighthearted, optimistic books by far. The reason is we live in a world that is just saturated with depression and struggle and anxiety. And, I would prefer to not have to fill my free time with more of the same thing. It would just begin to feel like there is no escape, which in large part is the intention of books. It is to give us that avenue of escape from reality. I wouldn't say I prefer books that bring this optimism so far to absurdity. You will also notice with a lot of my books that they are very sci-fi, futuristic, or future-looking, to where the future is bright, technology brings a lot of freedom to humanity that kind of becomes the great equalizer, and that's the sort of thing that I look forward to. So yes, I would say that I prefer more lighthearted, optimistic books, as long as they stay within the realm of realism. Question number 3 is, do you prefer books that get straight to the point, or do you prefer books that challenge language and style? Again, as most people know about me, I am going to go with the middle of the road. On one end of my library, you'll notice that I have books like The Philosophy of Mind, in which it explores the origins of the mind and gets into the different scientific studies of what the mind is, but also does not stay just scientific. It also delves into the possible spirituality of the mind. Where then you have on the other side of the spectrum, I have a few young adult books that I was sucked into by my girlfriend at the time that are nothing more than time filler thrillers. So yes, I like a challenge, but I also like books that go straight to the point. Question number 4 is, do you prefer books that introduce you to new ideas and issues, or do you prefer books that are purely aiming to entertain? Again, I would have to say both. While I have said on many occasions in my previous videos that I do not like books that push agendas, whether they are far right, right, center, left, and far left. I just do not like agendas. And I also like books that are just there to kind of fill in the free time. Sometimes I just can't sleep and I need something to fill in the silence and keep my brain from just spinning and spinning. I sometimes suffer with anxiety, and books that just have no real purpose other than just to talk are really the ones that I use the most to fill in the silence and help me go to sleep. Something that I really just don't care to enjoy. But I also do realize the need to stretch one's worldview and perception, as well as one that helps strengthen the current worldview that, you already have. Question number 5 is, do you enjoy books that have descriptions of violence and swearing, or actively aim to avoid them? This is actually a fairly easy one for me. I really do not like excessive descriptions of violence and language, and especially sexuality, even to the point of skipping chapters that are even just the slightest bit romantic. I was just reading a book that just came out called Warcross, in which there was a scene that kind of described a neural connection between two individuals. And throughout the entire book, you could just sense the lead up to some sort of romantic connection. And of course, they wanted or needed to kind of bring that to some sort of sensual conclusion. I just kind of skipped it. That's something I don't need to hear, something I just don't want. And a few times I have mentioned that it would be nice to have some sort of rating system or marking within books that kind of acted much like TV ratings, where in the top right corner they say something like PG-14, DSLV, which kind of indicate that they contain dramatic sex, language, or violence. That way I can have an easier time avoiding books that contain that sort of stuff. Because as it stands now, I have to be already committed to a book halfway through before I'll notice some sort of sexual content that's pretty descriptive. Maybe not so much with language. Generally, if there's going to be a lot of language, it's right up in the front. But language isn't so much a problem for me. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessary. And yes, I won't avoid a book because it has it. But yes, it would be nice if I could see that a book contains a lot of language before I invest my time and money into it. Question number 6 is, do you typically go for specific genres and why? Yes, I do generally stick to specific genres, and I think quite a lot of people do. I mean, that's the point of having specific interests. I stick with generally sci-fi. Lately, I've been getting into a lot of fantasy, things like literary RPGs. I mean, who doesn't like Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit? I also do kind of stick with memoirs. I've yet to actually read an autobiography. I have also been kind of wanting to read historical novels just to kind of give them a try. I've heard some really good things about them. I guess the answer for the reasons why I stick to the types of genres that I do is because I know my interests. I know what I love. I definitely know what I don't like. I don't like westerns. I don't like romances. I really do not like horror. I mean, I actually don't know the vast arrays of genres that's out there. Would you consider YA a genre or more of a classification? Because there are young adult sci-fi and young adult fantasy, I think. Maybe that's something you could tell me in the comments below. Is young adult considered a genre, or would that be just kind of a category? Lastly, question number 7 is, what is your favorite genre-busting book? I'm feeling like this is kind of going to be a bit of a anticlimactic answer. I would have to say the memoir of Warren Buffett was my favorite book that kind of goes outside of the traditional genres that I pick up most, which is sci-fi fantasy, of course. His book was really long and really kind of inspirational in how someone could go from really meager beginnings and just make it to becoming one of the most wealthiest persons in the world. I think if I would have been as diligent as he was, I think if we all would have been as diligent and smart as he was with his money, or with our money rather, I think we would all be in the same financial boat. Alright guys, that's it for this tag. Please leave a comment down below with your genre buster book. Also, post a response video. I want to see what your guys' answers are to these questions. Definitely want to give a shout out to Bookaxe for the creation of this tag. Go ahead and follow them, give them some love. While you're at it, why don't you go grade today and subscribe to my channel? Ring the bell once you get to the top to get notifications of when I post my stuff. I'm not as consistent as everybody else. I don't have set days, but I do promise to try and get something out once a week. Follow me on the usual social media networks. All of that is in the info holder below. Also, feel free to check out my Patreon page. Check out my store at Redbubble or Society6. There's a few holiday sales going on. My Kanye West for President 2020 seems to be the one that's popular right now, as well as Inside Out of Emotions. Go ahead and go check those out. And until next time, keep living between the lines.